Had tried everything, hospital visits, but every test ended with the same heartbreaking words: negative, no sign of pregnancy. Fasting and prayers for God's mercy and his intervention. Even traditional herbs, yet no cry of a baby in their home. Though Michael never showed it, deep inside, the emptiness ate at him. Grace endured the whispers of relatives and the piercing words from his family. Some said she's the problem. Others murmured, a woman without a child is like a tree without fruit. One evening, as both sat in their living room, Michael looked at his wife and said softly, "My love, we have prayed enough. Maybe it's time we give another child a home. Maybe God is waiting for us to bless someone else before he blesses us. Let's adopt." Mr. Michael Okafor was a man every young businessman admired. Tall, confident, and successful. He owned several companies across the country. His name was often mentioned in boardrooms and charity events. But behind the high walls of his mansion, silence echoed where laughter of children was supposed to be. For 12 years, Michael and his beautiful wife, Mrs. Grace, had been married and lived in love, yet carried silent pain. She's elegant, gentle, prayerful, and known for her kindness. Yet her eyes often carried the quiet sorrow of a woman longing for motherhood. They had tried everything, hospital visits, but every test ended with the same heartbreaking words: negative, no sign of pregnancy. Fasting and prayers for God's mercy and his intervention. Even traditional herbs, yet no cry of a baby in their home. Though Michael never showed it, deep inside, the emptiness ate at him. Grace endured the whispers of relatives and the piercing words from his family. Some said she's the problem. Others murmured, a woman without a child is like a tree without fruit. One evening, as both sat in their living room, Michael looked at his wife and said softly, "My love, we have prayed enough. Maybe it's time we give another child a home. Maybe God is waiting for us to bless someone else before he blesses us. Let's adopt. Maybe through that, heaven will smile on us." Tears filled Grace's eyes. She had thought of it too, but was sacred of his reaction. She nodded, her voice trembling. "If that's what will bring peace, let's do it. Maybe through that child, he will remember us." That night, they both knelt in prayer, holding hands tightly, asking God to lead them to the child meant for them. A week later, they visited St. Mary's orphanage home. The moment Grace stepped in, her heart trembled. Children ran around joyfully, but her attention froze on a tiny baby girl lying quietly in a crib, fair, beautiful, with big innocent eyes and a calm spirit. So cute. The matron smiled. She's barely 1 year old. Her mother died during childbirth. We named her Favour because she survived against all odds. Grace reached for the baby, and the moment she held her, something shifted inside her. Peace, joy, and a warmth she hadn't felt in years. The baby smiled in her arms as though she recognized her. That day, they completed the paperwork and took baby Favour home. The mansion that once echoed with silence now filled with laughter, baby cries, and joy. Grace cared for her as though she had carried her in her womb. Michael was always by her side, proud and graceful. But just when they thought their story was complete, God surprised them. Hallelujah. Months after adopting Favour, Grace began to feel unwell. She thought it was stress or tiredness from motherhood. But at the hospital, the doctor smiled and said, "Madam, congratulations, you are 2 months pregnant." Grace froze. Her heart pounded. After 12 years of waiting, the woman who was called barren was finally with child. The news spread like wildfire. Even her in-laws, who once mocked her, now bowed in tears, saying, "Truly, what God cannot do does not exist." Grace wept and held Favour close to her chest. "You were the angel that opened my womb," she whispered. "My God is a miracle worker, my impossibility specialist." Months passed like a whisper. The once quiet mansion of Mr. and Mrs. Michael Okafor had turned into a home overflowing with joy and new beginnings. Every doctor's appointment filled with gratitude. Every kick from the unborn child a reminder of God's faithfulness. Grace often sat in the nursery, gently rocking baby Favour to sleep, her hand resting on her growing belly as she whispered, "You will soon meet your sister, my son. You will grow together, love each other, and never feel different. I promise." Then came that unforgettable morning. Michael rushed through the hospital hallway, his hands trembling in excitement and fear. Hours later, the loud cry of a baby echoed from the maternity ward. "It's a boy!" the nurse shouted, smiling widely. Grace burst into tears of joy, relief, and gratitude. Michael could hardly speak as he held the tiny, wrinkled baby in his arms. "My son, my miracle," he whispered, his voice breaking with emotion. "God has indeed remembered us." Back home, life blossomed beautifully. Grace raised Favour and Miracle like siblings. She made no difference between them. What one had, the other had too. The bond between them was unbreakable. Without knowing the difference between blood and love, years passed quickly. Favour grew into a beautiful young girl, tall, elegant, and brilliant. She was now in Queen's High School, one of the best secondary schools in the city. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Michael Okafor, provided her with everything a child could dream of: the best clothes, gadgets, and a driver who picked her up every morning. Teachers admired her brilliance. She always topped her class and represented the school in debates and competition. But with comfort came change. Favour began to walk with her shoulders high and her chin raised. Her once gentle voice became sharp and now carried pride. She loved being admired and hated being corrected. Favour carried herself like royalty. She walked through the school compound as if she owned it. Her friends, all from wealthy homes, mocked those who came from humble homes and looked down on those who didn't fit in. At times, she would push other students aside at the cafeteria, saying arrogantly, "He owns companies." "I don't mix with poor people. We are not the same. Some of us were born to shine, others to serve." She picks on the poor and ignores anyone who tries to correct her. Even her intelligence became a weapon. She used it to belittle others. Her attitude caused tension in the school until one Monday morning she went too far. It reached the ears of the proprietor, Reverend Mrs. Benedict, a wise, calm but firm woman known for her discipline and motherly wisdom. That morning, she sat in her office, flipping through Favour's record. Her face was calm but troubled. "This girl has potential," she murmured to herself. "But pride will destroy her if someone doesn't stop her now." She called the school secretary and said firmly, "Please invite Mr. and Mrs. Michael Okafor to my office immediately. We need to talk privately." The atmosphere in the proprietor's office was tense but composed. Hours later, Mr. and Mrs. Okafor entered, their smiles polite yet uncertain. Reverend Mrs. Benedict rose to greet them warmly. "Good morning, sir, ma'am. Thank you for coming on short notice." Michael smiled faintly. "No problem, ma'am. I hope all is well with Favour." The woman exhaled deeply and opened a folder. "Sir, your daughter is brilliant, extremely brilliant. Her teachers call her a genius, but we have a serious problem. Her behavior towards others is troubling." Grace shifted uneasily. "Troubling? How do you mean, ma'am?" The proprietor continued gently and firmly. "She mocks students who are not from wealthy homes. She's rude, arrogant, and even intimidates others. Last week, she poured water on a classmate because she said the girl looked dirty. I have spoken to her, but she laughed and walked away." Silence filled the room. Michael's jaw tightened. Grace's eyes watered as she whispered, "Our Favour did that?" The proprietor leaned forward, her tone motherly but sharp. Sir, ma'am, brilliance without character is a tragedy waiting to happen. Your daughter has a bright future, but if she doesn't learn humility, she will lose everything that truly matters. Michael nodded slowly. Thank you, ma'am. We will handle it from here. Reverend Mrs. Benedict smiled kindly. I know you will. She's still a child. She can be corrected. It just has to start from home. That afternoon, the Okafor mansion was unusually quiet. Favour walked in cheerfully, humming and tossing her school bag on the sofa. But the moment she saw her parents seated, calm but serious, her smile faded. Mrs. Grace spoke first, her voice soft but firm. Favour, your proprietor called us today. Favour froze. About what, Mom? Michael leaned forward, his deep voice steady. She said, you have been picking other students, insulting people who are not rich and treating them as less than you. Is that true? Favour hesitated, then scoffed lightly. Dad, people exaggerate things. Michael interrupted gently. No, Favour, don't explain it away. This isn't about what others say. It's about who you are becoming. His deep voice echoed through the living room. Grace clasped her hands, her tone tender but filled with wisdom. My daughter, we didn't raise you to measure people by what they have. We gave you everything, not to make you proud, but to teach you gratitude. Favour's eyes darted between them, trying to hold her ground. But Mom, some of those girls are rude too. Grace cut in gently. No one becomes smaller by showing kindness, Favour. Being kind doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. The room went silent. Michael stood up and then faced her. My dear, wealth can open doors, but character keeps them open. If you lose your humility, you lose everything that matters. Grace's eyes softened. You are brilliant, beautiful, and blessed. But remember, the true test of greatness is how you treat those who have nothing to offer you. Favour's lips trembled. For the first time, she couldn't find words. The confidence she carried like a crown suddenly felt heavy. Her father placed his hand gently on her shoulder. We love you, Favour, but if we ever see pride turn you into someone we can't recognize, we will correct you, not to shame you, but to save you. Tears slowly filled her eyes. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry, Mom. Grace stood, hugged her tightly and whispered, that's all we need to hear. Learn, grow, and become the woman God wants you to be. They stayed in that quiet embrace for a long time, not in anger, but love, correcting with wisdom. After the quiet confrontation in Okafor's home, something changed. Not instantly, but slowly and deeply. Favour wasn't the same. Her father's words always echoed in her heart like a drum beat. Wealth can open doors, but character keeps them open. And her mother's voice followed softly. We gave you comfort to make you grateful, not proud. She started seeing the world differently. At home, Michael and Grace saw the difference. One evening, Grace watched as Favour helped Miracle with his homework. The boy smiled, calling her the best sister ever. Grace's eyes softened. She whispered quietly, that's the daughter I prayed for. Michael smiled beside her. Each morning before school, she spent extra time helping her mother with small chores, greeting the staff respectfully, even thanking the driver who took her to school, something she never did before. At school, the change was visible. At first, Favour struggled. It wasn't easy to be kind to people she had once looked down on. Some students still avoided her. Instead of boasting about her grades, she started using her brilliance to help others. She formed a small study group, tutoring classmates after school. One day, she noticed a girl crying outside the classroom. It was Lillian, the same girl she once mocked. Without hesitation, Favour sat beside her. Hey, she said softly, I know I hurt you before. I can't erase the past, but I can start doing better. Can we be friends? Lillian hesitated, then nodded through tears. From that day, they became inseparable. A friendship born not from wealth, but from healing. The teachers noticed the quiet transformation. education, she was still brilliant, confident, but now grateful. The type of confidence that didn't need to crush others to shine. Her kindness was consistent. Months later, the long-awaited day came, the end of the year results and award ceremony. Parents filled the hall, the air buzzing with excitement as the proprietor walked to the podium. The proprietor smiled as she held the microphone. Welcome, parents, to a day of celebration and new beginnings. Today, we celebrate excellence, not just in academics, but in character. One student has shown that true greatness begins when pride ends. The hall grew quiet. Today, she stands out for humility, leadership, and brilliance. Ladies and gentlemen, the overall best student of the year, Miss Favour Okafor. The entire hall erupted in applause. Mr. and Mrs. Okafor stood, their eyes filled with pride. Grace clasped her hands on her chest, tears spilling freely. Favour walked to the stage slowly, her eyes glistening. She bowed slightly before the proprietor, then took the award with trembling hands. Reverend Mrs. Benedict looked at her warmly. You have not only excelled in academics, but you have proven that character is the true measure of success. Congratulations, my dear. Thank you, ma'am, she whispered. You taught me that knowledge without kindness is empty. Favour took the microphone, her voice calm, clear, and mature. When I first came here, I thought being better than others made me special, but I was wrong. True greatness isn't in looking down on people, it's in lifting them up. My parents taught me that humility isn't weakness, it's strength with wisdom. The hall fell silent. If I have ever hurt anyone here, she continued, I am truly sorry. I have learned that kindness leaves a mark that success never can. The audience erupted in applause. Back home, the Okafor family gathered around the dining table. Joy overflowed. Miracle, now a tall, confident young boy with a calm spirit, handed his sister a handmade card. You did it, sis. You made us proud. Congratulations. Favour smiled, hugging him. Thank you, Miracle. But you are doing great too. I saw your results. Top of your class. Miracle grinned. I just want to be like you, Favour. Favour smiled, touching his shoulder gently. No, Miracle. Be better than me. Be humble, kind, and always remember that people are more valuable than possessions. Michael chuckled proudly. I am blessed beyond measure. Both of you made me proud. Not because you are brilliant, but because you have learned the value of humility. Grace reached across the table and held their hands. You have both become everything we have prayed for. Wise, kind, and grateful. Never forget, my children, the world respects brilliance, but heaven honors humility. They bowed their heads in prayer. Laughter and love filled the air, the kind that comes only when hearts are truly changed. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, and turn on the notification bell for more interesting stories. I love you all.